used to think dating apps were harmless, a little digital thrill, a way to meet someone over coffee or dinner. After a breakup left me feeling hollow, I figured why not dip back in. I wasn't after a relationship, just someone to talk to. But what I found online wasn't romance. It was a string of moments that still make my skin crawl. That it all started with someone I'll call JB. He seemed normal, even charming. We met in the nearest city for a casual date. It went well, easy conversation, and we made plans to meet again. Eventually, I ended up at his apartment, in a part of the city I knew well from my student days. I felt safe. His flatmates were home, and I didn't think much of going upstairs with him to finish an episode of The Office. But his room was tiny, a single bed and barely space to sit. He asked me to lie beside him, said he couldn't see the screen. Reluctantly, I agreed. It felt awkward, but harmless. We hadn't even kissed yet, so how bad could it be? Then he grabbed my wrist, firmly tried to push my hand into his shorts. I froze for a second. Then instinct kicked in. I flung myself off the bed, snatched my bag, and bolted downstairs. He ran after me, barefoot, apologizing, pleading. I didn't look back. I knew that part of the city better than he realized. I vanished down a side street and waited at the bus stop, heart racing, calling for a ride. That should have been the end of it, but JB didn't disappear. Weeks later, I noticed he'd moved in with a new girlfriend already. I wondered if he'd been seeing her all along. 6 months passed, and then, out of nowhere, he messaged me. Again, claimed he'd split with his girlfriend, wanted to talk things over coffee. I was lonely. Against better judgment, I agreed, but only in public. Every time we made plans, he'd try to switch it last minute to just come over. I always declined that. Then things got darker. I got a strange message from a number I didn't know. It mentioned JB but spelled his unusual name exactly the way he did. Then came the calls, dozens of them, always hanging up when I answered. It freaked me out. My anxiety spiked. One night it didn't stop, so I told my cousin everything. She called the number herself. You know whose voicemail it was? JB's. She left a furious message. If he ever contacted me again, we'd go to the police. A few weeks later, I saw he was moving back to his home country. Good, I hope. I never see his face again. But he wasn't the last. There was another. I'm a transgender woman, and I'm always upfront about it on my dating profiles, except for one app, Plenty of Fish, which flags it as talking about sex. So I listed myself as a trans rights supporter, hoping that was enough. A guy messaged me cute, but something felt off. Still, we talked. He smoked, but claimed he was trying to quit. We chatted, and he asked for my number. Without thinking, I gave it to him. That's when everything shifted. Within minutes, I got a text. Who the hell is paying your phone bill? I was stunned. Then, where did you get that name? He had tracked down my dead name through some shady paid service. I told him I was transgender and had planned to tell him soon. I asked him to lose my number. His reply, do you still live at the same address? I'm coming to talk to you in person. I told him I'd moved. He didn't care. Since you're hiding something, I'm doing a full background check. I'll send your profile and photos to law enforcement in your town. My heart dropped. He said he was sending it to his cop friends. I blocked him, locked my doors, and waited. Weeks passed. Then one day I saw him. I was grocery shopping and felt someone watching me. Same glasses, same stare. I texted my ex, who used to work in law enforcement. He stayed over a few times a month after that to make sure I felt safe. One night, I smelled cigarette smoke, and I don't smoke. I lived in a small 3-unit apartment building with no shared air vents. I assumed it was a neighbor. I stayed up all night recording an ASL project, and my cat kept going nuts. By morning, I was exhausted. As I left for class, I noticed something strange. My tidy front garden had a pile of cigarette butts dumped right in front of my bedroom window. Later, my elderly neighbor asked, "Did your boyfriend find you last night?" I asked what he meant. "Some guy was waiting on your porch for hours, thought he might be your boyfriend." My heart sank. Dark hair, glasses, chain smoking. I texted my ex. We filed reports. I moved out a few weeks later, different state, different name. Sealed. Records. Then there was Alex. We met on Bumble. He seemed normal at first. Asked me out, then ghosted me the night of the date. Claimed he forgot his phone. I gave him another chance. This time, he asked me to meet at his place, and he'd drive us. Told me 3 times to come hungry. Repeating it. I never told him what car I drove, but when I pulled into a nearby parking lot, he parked right behind me. Creepy. I still got into his car. He said the restaurant had moved locations and we were headed there, but never used GPS. We drove down dark back roads, not highways. My gut said something was wrong. I checked the restaurant online, closed for the day. Red flag. When he finally pulled over, it wasn't at a restaurant, it was at a trail in the woods. Stargazing, he said. The clearing was pretty but he kept cracking jokes about being a serial killer. Said things like, promise you won't steal my keys and leave me here. Then he started lying. Elaborate stories, all ending with just kidding. At one point he said he got a piercing on his junk, then laughed and said, nah, over and over. It wasn't funny anymore, it was unhinged. When we headed back, he pulled into a park instead of going home. Asked me to run naked through it. Asked graphic personal questions, then said, you gonna kiss me or what? I said no. He told me to find some chapstick, licked his lips, and started rubbing himself through his pants. I told him no. Again he tried pulling me onto his lap. I told him it wasn't happening. He pouted like a child, said you're just scared of how big it is. Then suddenly said he got a text from his uncle, emergency at home. Sure, he dropped me off in a dark parking lot, alone, then drove off before I even reached my car. Later that week, I drove past the restaurant. It hadn't moved. It was right where it had always been on the highway, 5 minutes from his house. So where the hell was he taking me? Another time, back in 2015, I matched with someone on Tinder while visiting friends in Bloomington. She invited me to her apartment. I got there late 10 p.m. midwinter. She said the front door would be open. When I arrived, I noticed 4 people staring at me through a window. When I knocked, I heard someone whisper, he's at the door. I froze. The same apartment with the people watching. I ran. Back at my friend's place, I got a text, where'd you go? I waited for you all night. I blocked her immediately, and it still doesn't end there. I once matched with a woman named Katie. Blonde, seemed sweet. We talked for a month. Video, calls, daily messages. She invited me to visit 8 hours away. The day I arrived, I noticed a man watching me from her second-story window. When I asked about her dad, she went pale. No one's supposed to be here. We ran outside and called the police. An older man had broken in, lived secretly in the house. They never caught him. That night, while I was sleeping on the couch, I heard the doorknob turning. There he was again trying to get in. I pointed a shotgun through the glass. He ran. As I was leaving town the next day, I looked back one last time and there he was, standing at the edge of the house, just staring. I left without calling the police again. Katie never went back to that house. And finally there was Diana. I'd moved to a new country, didn't know anyone, got on Tinder just to chat. Diana seemed nice, too nice, kept calling, texting. We set a time to meet, but I cancelled. That's when she started video calling me. When I blocked her, I got a message from an unknown number. Her dad's phone, she claimed, then another. You don't believe me. There's a girl doing black magic on me. She kept making new numbers. I kept blocking them. I deleted the app. She didn't stop. That was my welcome into online dating. It wasn't a string of meet cutes. It was a warning one that I now share with others. Meet in public. Share nothing personal too soon, and never ever ignore your gut.